In the days after the announcement of her engagement to Prince William in November 2010, Catherine Middleton was granted private access to the vaults beneath Kensington Palace. Royal sources say items from Diana, Princess of Wales's collection, were transferred to Catherine's care in the months that followed, a transition that masked an emotional threshold. Her hands hovered above velvet-lined boxes containing pieces Diana, Princess of Wales, had worn in triumph and in exhaustion. She selected the sapphire engagement ring, its 12-carat sunstone, catching the overhead light. Other boxes remained closed. The public celebrated what she chose. The private archive records what she did not in the language of royal jewellery. Selection and refusal carry equal weight. Some inheritances music are worn, others are remembered. Before we get started, please subscribe to our channel, especially if you enjoy stories about the journeys of jewellery within the royal families. And Crown Prince F of Saudi Arabia presented Diana, Princess of Wales, with a suite of sapphires and diamonds in the spring of 1981. The gift arrived with all the diplomatic weight of an oil treaty. The matching necklace, earrings, bracelet, and ring, their deep blue stones set in cascading white gold, represented Diana's first major state jewels outside the Windsor vaults. She was 20 years old. The Saudi suite appeared at official functions in the early years of her marriage. Photographed extensively during the royal tour of Brisbane in 1983 and documented in official portraits through the mid-1990s. Yet archival photo analysis reveals a striking pattern. After 1990, the frequency of appearance dropped sharply. Documented wearings became increasingly rare after 1995. The pieces were not damaged. They were not lost. They were simply not chosen. In the vocabulary of royal protocol, she wore what diplomacy demanded until she stopped. The sapphires remained in their case, witnesses to the difference between obligation and preference. The Cambridge lover's knot tiara entered Diana's possession in 1981 with a lineage more complicated than love. Queen Mary commissioned the piece in 1914 from the Royal Jeweller's Garage, directing them to replicate an earlier lover's knot design dating to the early 19th century. Numerous lovers' knot pearl drops hung from a lattice of diamonds. Music, each element designed for maximum visual impact. When Elizabeth II made the tiara available to Diana in the early 1980s, the symbolism seemed music generous, a family heirloom for the future queen. What palace records did not emphasize was the tiara's documented weight. Music, Diana reportedly found the tiara heavy and uncomfortable to wear. Music, according to accounts from royal staff and jewelers, photographs from the 1980s show her wearing it with a posture both regal and tense. Her neck music, strained beneath the literal burden of expectation. When Diana returned it to the royal vault in 1997, the tiara had been worn dozens of times, but never comfortably. It was made to be seen, not to be endured. In 1911, Queen Mary received an emerald choker as part of the Delhi Durbar parcel, a formal piece meant to reinforce imperial splendor. 70 years later, Diana wore it as a headband music to a 1985 charity event, the emeralds resting against her forehead music, like a declaration of independence. The modification, completed in the mid-1980s, according to jewelry historians Music, involved fitting the original gold band with a velvet strap, transforming court jewelry into what one fashion editor called rockstar regalia. Elizabeth II had worn the choker traditionally fastened music at the throat in state portraits. Diana reimagined it entirely. Museum curators later debated whether this constituted fashion innovation or protocol violation. The answer documented in palace silence was both. The emerald headband appeared in paparazzi photographs music throughout the late 1980s, always paired with modern gowns, never with traditional tiaras. It was not rebellion for its own sake. It was a statement rendered in gemstones, transformation, and autonomy. Music, the same stones reframed, the same woman rewriting the terms of adornment. Royal jewelry hierarchy allowed modification only within strict parameters. Diana chose to interpret those parameters music, broadly. Between 1985 and 1992, as her marriage to Prince Charles entered documented decline, Diana's jewelry choices became a form of strategic communication. Music, Official portraits from this period show her in full regalia. Music, the Spencer tiara, the Queen's lone pieces, and ceremonial brooches pinned precisely where protocol required. Paparazzi photographs from the same months reveal something different. Minimal jewelry, often none at all. Auction house analyses conducted after her death in 1997 catalogued which pieces she had chosen to keep in her personal possession versus those returned to royal storage. The pattern was clear. Pieces associated with state obligation went back to the vaults. Pieces she controlled remained with her. At a 1991 charity event, she wore only her engagement ring and pearl earrings, not the sapphire suite gifted by foreign dignitaries. Music, not the emerald choker she had once transformed. The absence was louder than any display. Royal protocol dictates that jewelry worn to state functions must be recorded in official logs. What goes unrecorded is the decision not to wear. Music, every clasp fastened was a choice. Every clasp left unfastened was a sentence. Not all of Diana's jewelry appeared in photographs. Royal collection inventories from the 1980s and the 1990s list pieces never documented in public. Spencer family heirlooms distinct from royal loan items. Personal gifts stored in a private Kensington Palace music, safe rather than official vaults. Letters to friends mention preferences and aversions, though details remain protected by privacy agreements. What can be confirmed is the existence of a second tier, pieces she owned but declined to display. Some were too personal, others carried associations she preferred to keep private. The distinction between what was photographed and what remained hidden reveals an essential truth about royal adornment. Public jewelry served as performance. Private jewelry existed as memory. Archival records note several items returned to the Spencer family after her death, their existence unknown to the public until estate inventories were finalized. Museum curators have observed that absence in royal jewelry often functions as intentional communication, a refusal to participate, a boundary drawn in silence. What she did not wear said more than what she did. The velvet boxes that never opened held their own narratives, locked and deliberate. When Diana and Charles formally separated in December 1992, royal protocol required a careful inventory of state jewelry. Pieces on loan from the Crown had to be distinguished from personal property. Between 1992 and 1996, documented records show a systematic removal of certain items from her rotation. The Cambridge lover's knot tiara, rarely worn after the early 1990s, music, returned to the vault. The Saudi sapphire suite disappeared from state events. Even the Spencer tiara, her family's property, appeared less frequently. Buckingham Palace inventory updates from 1996 and 1997 trace the return protocol. Which items went back, when they were logged, and under what conditions. Her final public appearances before her death in August 1997 show a woman who had stripped away much of the symbolic armor. At a London gala weeks before the Paris accident, she wore a simple strand of pearls and no other jewelry. The royal regalia that had once defined her public image had been methodically set aside. What remained was deliberate minimalism, not poverty of adornment, but precision of meaning. Jewelry had become optional, presence enough. For 14 years after Diana's death, her personal jewelry collection remained largely untouched in royal vaults and private storage. Royal Collection Trust documentation from 1997 through 2011 includes condition reports, insurance updates, and security protocols for pieces held in trust music for Prince William and Prince Harry. When the brothers reached their 18th and 21st birthdays, palace staff interviews later revealed discussions began about inheritance, not what they would receive. That was already determined by Diana's will and royal music custom. The question was when and under what circumstances. In 2010, as William prepared to propose to Catherine Middleton, he requested access to his mother's jewelry. Records show he chose the sapphire engagement ring from among several options. Kate's first documented viewing of the full collection occurred in late 2010 music or early 2011 in the presence of palace staff and royal jewelers. She saw the Cambridge lover's knot. She saw the Saudi suite. She saw pieces that had defined Diana's public image for 16 years. The jewels had waited in darkness, unchanged, while the world around them transformed. For 14 years, they existed as frozen grief, beautiful, burdensome, and silent. On November 16th, 2010, Music, Clarence House announced the engagement of Prince William and Catherine Middleton. Photographs released that day showed Kate wearing Diana's sapphire music and diamond engagement ring. Its 12-carat cell stone, surrounded by 14 white diamonds in an oval cluster. The public response was immediate and emotional. Her statement, recorded in the official music engagement interview, emphasized honor and responsibility. The language music was carefully chosen to acknowledge both the ring's beauty and its weight. The choice was William's made without consultation with palace officials. It was also, in a sense, inevitable. The sapphire ring had been Diana's most recognizable piece of jewelry, photographed thousands of times. Music, symbology. See of her engagement, her marriage, and eventually her independence. For Kate to refuse, it would have been interpreted as rejection. To accept it was to carry forward a legacy she had not chosen, but could not avoid. Gemological records confirm the ring's provenance. It was commissioned from Guard in 1981, selected by Diana herself from a tray of options, and valued at £28,000 at the time. It was the only piece Kate could not refuse. The engagement made it permanent. The inheritance became public property. Crying. Between 2011 and the present, documented records reveal a pattern in music. Kate's jewelry choices that speaks through omission. At state banquets music, where Diana might have worn the Saudi sapphires, Kate selected pieces on loan from Queen Elizabeth II. At formal portraits where the music, Cambridge lovers not would have been expected, she chose other tiaras or none at all. Archival analysis of her public appearances shows a deliberate preference. Borrowed royal collection pieces over Diana's personal music items. Palace curators speaking anonymously to royal historians have noted the calculated distance. It is not rejection. It is boundary setting rendered visible through adornment. The engagement ring remains constant, worn daily. But the emerald choker, the sapphire suite, the more flamboyant pieces Diana transformed into her signature style, these remain in storage. Kate has been photographed at hundreds of state events. The Saudi sapphires have appeared at none. The pattern is too consistent to be accidental. Inheritance in the language of royal protocol does not require display. It can also mean stewardship, keeping something safe, choosing not to repeat. The Cambridge lovers not. Tiara music reappeared in December 2015, worn by Kate to the annual diplomatic reception at Buckingham Palace. The image circulated globally within hours. The same tiara Diana had found too heavy, now resting on a different head. Since 2015, Kate has worn it sparingly at major state events, formal portraits, and on occasions where royal protocol music makes the choice nearly mandatory. But archival records show what remains untouched. Diana's pearl suite, documented in collection inventories, has never appeared publicly on Kate. The emerald pieces, choker, and earrings remain in the vault, their status confirmed by insurance updates, music, but their location unannounced. Royal protocol permits modification of inherited jewelry, but only with documentation. Records show Kate has made adjustments to some pieces, resizing, clasp reinforcement, minor structural updates. But the emeralds have not been touched, the pearls have not been rerung. The comparison is stark. Music, some pieces she has adapted, others she has preserved exactly as they were, untouched and unworn. The difference reveals intent. Modification suggests future use. Preservation suggests memorial. Both are forms of respect. Media speculation about Kate's relationship with Diana's jewelry has generated countless theories, most unsupported by palace records. Royal commentators have suggested everything from superstition to rivalry, explanations that collapse under factual scrutiny. What music, documentation reveals is simpler and more deliberate. Kate wears pieces from the Queen's collection far more frequently than pieces from Diana's personal archive. Auction records show that jewelry similar to Diana's statement pieces from the 1980s with bold colored gemstones music command significant value at Christie's and SB's. Yet Kate's choices trend towards subtlety. Public memory remains anchored to images of Diana wearing the sapphires, the emeralds, the dramatic tiaras that defined music, an era. Kate's restraint creates a different visual vocabulary. Royal historians note music, that the absence itself has become symbolic, proof that she is building her own legacy rather than inhabiting someone else's. The story became less about what she inherited and more about what she declined to display. The Saudi sapphires exist. Music they are hers by right, but they remain unseen, their absence speaking a language the wearer controls completely. Music, Kate's documented approach to royal jewellery, reveals a philosophy distinct music from Diana's. In a rare comment to a palace source, later shared with royal biographers, she described her preference for pieces that are borrowed rather than owned, a subtle distinction that carries symbolic weight. The Queen's loan pieces rotate. Music, they serve ceremonial purposes without permanent attachment. Diana's music, personal collection by contrast, represents fixed inheritance, unchangeable and freighted with memory. Pattern analysis of Kate's choices music, over 15 years, shows a clear preference. She wears Elizabeth II's tiaras more frequently, cycles through loaned brooches and necklaces, and music, reserves Diana's pieces for moments when their absence would be more conspicuous music than tea. Air presence. The balance required is delicate, honoring Diana's memory without becoming defined music by her image and establishing an independent royal identity while respecting the legacy that made her position possible. One palace observer noted, speaking on background to royal historians, that she carries the weight without needing the display. The description fits. She wears the engagement ring daily. The rest remains largely symbolic, music, acknowledged but not embraced. She carries the legacy without wearing the proof. Current royal music. Collection inventories list Diana's unworn jewellery under secure storage protocols. Their locations music, undisclosed for security reasons. Some pieces have been designated for Princess Charlotte, marked in trust music, documents for inheritance upon her 18th or 21st birthday. Others remain in general royal vault storage, available for loan but unchosen. Museum curators have occasionally discussed the possibility of public display. Exhibitions focused on royal jewellery history where Diana's pieces could be shown alongside other significant items. The proposals have not advanced. The jewels exist in a state between private property and public symbol, too personal for exhibition, too historically significant for permanent obscurity. What they witness now is absence. The rooms where they were once worn have changed. The ceremonies where they appeared have evolved. The woman who selected them, altered them, refused them, and ultimately left them behind is remembered through music photographs, not through living adornment. The jewelry remains as she left it, beautiful and heavy with meaning that cannot be repeated. The final music question has no clear answer, only interpretation. Is not wearing an act of respect or avoidance? Perhaps both. Perhaps neither matters as much as the choice itself. The Cambridge Lover's Knot tiara rests now in a vault display case positioned near a 1985 portrait of Diana wearing it, her expression simultaneously radiant and strained. Museum documentation cards music note its status on loan from Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Cambridge, worn occasionally. Music, the language is precise, revealing nothing beyond logistics. Elsewhere in royal storage, velvet boxes remain closed, their contents music catalogued but unseen. The Saudi sapphires catch no light. The emerald choker encircles no forehead. The pearl suite awaits a wearer who may never come or who may decades from now open a box and understand weight differently. Some jewelry tells its story through display. Other pieces communicate through silence, the decision not to wear, the inheritance accepted music, but set aside. The beauty preserved behind glass where it cannot burden or define. What remains is choice rendered permanent. The gemstones' music hold their fire in darkness. The portraits show what was. The empty music cases acknowledge what is not. Some stories are meant to be told, others are meant to be kept.